Okay, let's just dive right in. As coaches, we've all been there, right? Helping a client build a solid action plan. But what happens when that's not what they really need? Today, we're going to get into how to move beyond that surface level to-do list kind of coaching and really start to facilitate the deeper, more meaningful transformations our clients are actually looking for. In a world where you can ask an AI to spit out a basic action plan, our value as human coaches is really shifting. It's not just about the what and the when anymore. People are coming to us for that human connection, for a safe space to explore what's really going on underneath it all. And that, right there, is where the real work, and honestly, the real magic of coaching happens.
So let's talk about what I call the to-do list trap. It's that moment when a coaching session turns into, well, a glorified planning meeting. It might feel productive, ticking boxes and all that, but it often leaves both of us feeling a bit unsatisfied, and it just doesn't create lasting change for our clients. This is such a critical issue because it really holds us back from delivering the true, powerful value of what coaching can be. So let's really break this trap down. We're going to look at a coaching session that, on the surface, seems totally fine. It checks all the technical boxes. But as you're about to see, it completely misses the boat on the opportunity for any real lasting impact.
Now this slide, I think this is really interesting because it lays out the core distinction so clearly. On one side, you've got what coaching. It's all about solutions. It's focused on the practical stuff, the how and the when. But on the other side, you have awareness coaching. And this is all about exploration. It's about asking what's really going on here. It's about creating insight. This is the big shift from being a manager to being a true coach.
So, how do we even fall into this trap in the first place? Well, it usually boils down to a few really common mistakes that, let's be honest, even seasoned coaches can make. We're going to break down 3 of the biggest ones and, more importantly, talk about how to sidestep them. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 major pitfalls. First up, staying on the surface. Just asking those practical questions. Second, deciding for the client what the session should be about. And number 3, this one's a biggie. Giving our own feedback as if it's undeniable fact. Let's dig into each of these. So here's our first example. The client says they want a plan to build a personal brand. The coach jumps right in with practical questions to build that plan. Okay, so what's the first step? When will you do it? What day? This all seems perfectly fine, technically speaking, right?
But here is the absolute crucial point. The coach is so focused on creating the plan that they are completely missing what's actually happening in the conversation. The client is using words like maybe and I guess. There are these pauses. You can just feel the hesitancy in their voice. The mistake isn't asking about the plan. The mistake is ignoring all the emotional and energetic cues that are basically screaming, hey, the real conversation is over here.
And now for mistake number 2. Just listen to this line from the coach. So what I think the best approach is, whoa. The coach just takes complete control, laying out the entire agenda for the rest of the session based on what they think is important.
And this is just a classic failure to partner. I mean, the very definition of coaching is that it's a partnership. By dictating the whole process, the coach completely disempowers the client and steps way out of the coaching role. For anyone who follows the ICF competencies, this is a pretty serious breach to that core principle. And here it is, our third mistake, and wow, it is a big one. The coach delivers their opinion as a final judgment. I don't think you're ready. Now, this might be a bit of an exaggerated example, but believe me, more subtle versions of this happen all the time. This approach completely steals the client's autonomy. Instead of creating a space for them to discover their own truth, it just imposes the coach's reality onto them. This can seriously block a client's potential, and it robs them of the dignity of having their own insight. It's a huge ethical misstep, no question.
Okay, so we've seen the traps. We know what not to do. So how do we actually avoid them? The answer is in a really fundamental shift. We have to move away from directing our clients and move toward evoking their own deep awareness. This is so central to great coaching that it's literally ICF Core Competency number 7, evokes awareness. It's all about facilitating the client's own insight. It's not about us giving them the answers, but about helping them find their own, using tools like powerful questioning, silence, and even metaphor.
So, what does this actually look like in a real session? Let's walk through a bit of a masterclass demonstration, showing how a masterful coach can guide a client from that feeling of being stuck and paused to a place of genuine ease.
This question, this is where the magic really starts. Notice the phrasing. The coach doesn't say, "You are hesitant." Nope. They offer an observation. "I'm hearing hesitancy." And then immediately give the power right back to the client with that beautiful, open question. How does that land for you? And here's why that's so powerful. It's not a statement of fact. It's an invitation to explore. This tentative, super respectful approach empowers the client to agree or disagree or clarify, and that builds immense trust and swings the door wide open for a much, much deeper conversation.
Then the coach takes it even deeper by connecting the client's emotional state, that feeling of a pause, to their physical, felt experience. How does that show up in your body? This moves the conversation out of the head and into the body, which is so often where true awareness lives. And this slide just perfectly maps out the journey that the client is now on. Through this kind of exploration, we've gone from defining the problem as needing a plan to understanding the true internal state. The client is moving from a place of pause, hesitancy, tension, tight shoulders, to a desired state of ease, feeling natural, relaxed, not overthinking. This is the real goal.
And this right here is partnership in action. The coach doesn't just assume the original goal is now irrelevant. Instead, they check back in. They hold up both paths, the original action plan and this new exploration of ease, and they let the client decide what's most meaningful for them right now. That is true co-creation.
So, what can we pull from all this and actually apply to our own coaching practice? Let's quickly summarize the key principles for making that shift from being a director to being a true partner who evokes awareness. Okay, let's put it all together. First, you've got to master the art of listening for what's not being said, those pauses, the maybes. Second, always offer your observations as invitations, never as facts. Third, find the courage to explore the client's physical felt experience. Fourth, remember to partner on the process, not just the final outcome. And last but not least, be flexible. Be willing to let the client redefine what a successful session actually looks like.
And in the end, this is exactly why this approach is so incredibly powerful. This is the client's own insight. They're the one who realizes that the action plan isn't the problem. The internal state is the real barrier. By addressing that feeling of ease first, the action steps become almost secondary and way easier to tackle. That is what true lasting change looks like.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about in your own practice. The next time a client comes to you asking for a plan, just take a breath and ask yourself, beyond the to-do list, what is the real conversation your client truly needs to have today?